Okay, we're live.
All right. Welcome to a Tuesday afternoon of the Guitar Gear Locker. And today is live show 71. Me and Roger almost forgot we had a show. We were just like sitting here BSing the whole time about life. We're like,
Well,
shit, we got a show at 12 o'clock.
yeah, we're BS, and I look up at the countdown timer and it hit 0. I was like, uh-oh, let's hit this thing. Yeah, so we have 4. So this week I did something a little bit different. We can BS for a minute while we're waiting for people to build up. So I did things a little bit different. We normally get the people that YouTube kind of recommends, and you could see the room building a little bit. And they're always asking, "What are you all talking about? What is this about? What are you all talking about?" So this time I put it in the there's Christoph. This time I put it in the description, if you will. So when they get in here, they'll see what we're talking about. And then, hey man, how you doing? How's everything going with you? So, Christoph, today we're gonna be talking about touring, the realities of touring, and how the music business has changed. We're gonna talk about a little bit of gear, some gear news, and things like that. So, if you have any questions, any burning questions you want to shoot in, feel free to shoot them in. I think right now we have 3 watching. So, and I think is Tuesday gonna be our new day for the most part? Alex, is Alex frozen? Oh, Alex is frozen, I think. Either that or he's deep in thought. Um, we'll wait for him to figure it out. Yeah, it looks like so we're in Northern Virginia, and sometimes our well, maybe I'm frozen. I don't know. Christoph, am I frozen? Oh no, he's gone. So I am not frozen. He's meditating. I like that. I don't know what happened. So, yeah, so we have some gear news coming up. I mean, obviously we can't talk about touring with me because I've only toured around, locally. Not musically either on fire trucks. So that's not gonna help you a whole lot. So, there's been a couple new things this week that I've seen come through here. So I have and I know most people play electrics. Um, so for the acoustic people, oh geez, his internet went out. So this could be a really quick show. We may have to bug out and then come back in. We'll see what he does. But anyways, there's a couple that I can talk about without him. So, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Music Nomad. It's where you can take in it's a little adapter that fits on your output jack, and you can hook a strap lock to it. So you're able to use strap locks on an acoustic. So I just installed 2 of those, and I was really impressed. So it's one of the problems with the acoustics is, you if you don't have the end pins or whatever, you're kind of hooking it to the jack. So your jack in the place where you hook your strap are the same thing. So this helps you, to have the place where you put the jack in, your output jack still goes in the same place, and then you can hook your strap onto the strap button, and it can be a shaller. They have an adapter, but they're typically made for shallers or Grovers, those kind of things, which the Grovers are like the shallers, but those types of strap locks. So for anybody that's joining in, I see the room's kind of building a little bit. So Alex just lost his internet, so we're waiting for him to come back because we are going to talk about touring. But a couple other things. Christoph, I know if you have any questions, you could shoot them in while we're waiting for him. Um, let's see what else. So I also have. I don't know. Everybody knows I'm a string joy dealer. If you're just joining, I'm a string joy dealer. And I run 3 Alarm Guitar Service here we're just south of DC in Northern Virginia. So String Joy is now carrying, well, you can see the mat behind me. That's my workbench. So you can see the mat behind me. So they're carrying a line of guitar care products. So I am going to do some, some testing of that and trying it out on guitars in a setup environment. I haven't done it yet, but they have like I mean, some of it is like guitar polish and things like that, which right now I use lizard spit. I find that's very good. It's good for all different surfaces. So I'm thinking about switching over to the String Joy. So I'm going to test it out. They sent me a test package, and also I use Music Nomad F1 oil on the fretboards. So hold on just a second. I'm gonna mute real fast. Just give me a second. I'm gonna answer the phone. Sorry, but I had to look and see if his phone number was on there. So that was Alex. His internet is toast right now. So I'm gonna go on for a couple minutes. I mean, it's like I said, our agenda was to talk about the realities of touring, which it's tough. I get to see it as being friends with Alex. The toll that it takes on them as musicians. It's a tough grind. It's tougher than I thought of before I got to know him. It's not all glitz and glamour like what I thought. So, anyways, the Stringjoy products, I'm going to test those out. We do have a new product that has to do with a fixed bridge that we are going to see. It's Eric. Eric. Which Eric? I know a few Erics. Oh, you don't want to give your last name. Um, so I forgot where I was. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of new products coming out. He finally made it. Yeah, so there's a lot of new products coming out. Oh, the Stop Hell Bridge, and I'm sure that person is probably watching right now, going like, so I don't want to say the name of it right now. It's very interesting. Oh, then okay, I know exactly who it is. Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, welcome in. I'm glad you finally made one. So, just to bring you up to speed, Alex was supposed to. Well, Alex was here not long ago, but his internet went out. He could always join with his phone. I don't know why he doesn't do that. So, hey, Cheech, let's see. That I just thought of that. I'm sitting here going, you know, let's face it, Alex and I are old. What's happening, man? So some of this is let me tell him to join with his phone. Give me just a second. Oh yeah, why not? Hold on, let me finish your comment here in a second. See, how about the phone? There you go. We're full of good ideas. So yeah, he could do that. He has good cell service up there. He tried to order them, but shipping was costing as much. I bet. In the terrace. Yeah, man, that's gonna be. I don't know, man. If you could hit me on the side, you know my email address. I mean, if we can figure out a way to get them over there, I mean, you can't see it, but I have an entire shelf right there full of them. I just made a gigantic order. Yeah, but I didn't think that, and they're good strings too. I like them a lot. I'm also an Ernie Ball dealer. I like Ernie Balls, and I think Ernie Balls is kind of one of those necessary things because a lot of people love Ernie Ball strings. And if you're a small shop like me, you can't necessarily carry every set of string is just too much. I mean, it's too much room, and I don't want to be a store. So I do String Joy. I do have a couple one-off sets here and there. Like I keep some D'Addarios, some NYXLs, things like that that I see a lot. But I just don't want to get into the whole, I mean, there's music stores. I don't want to be their competition, which I'm not. No, Ernie Ball. Oh no, no. I do I do. I wish I could flip the camera. Wait a minute. Maybe I can. Let's see if I can do it. Oh yeah, there's Ernie Ball right there, a bunch of string joys. Yeah. I No, I do Ernie Ball also. So I think, I like the company. So a lot of it is, oh, here he is. A lot of it is, damn, I can't believe I ran my mouth until he got back.
All right.
Look
Sorry
at
about
that.
that. I
Are
had
you on the
no
phone or the
idea.
computer?
I'm on the computer. Yeah.
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Xfinity. All right. We were just
Welcome,
talking
welcome to the
products.
modern age of the internet.
Yeah, well, we're all coming up with like troubleshooting ideas like a hotspot or use your phone. I was like, yeah, what's up? He could use his phone.
Sorry about
So,
that, folks.
all right. So
Yeah.
cheats and no more. No. So I'm definitely an Ernie Ball dealer. I I I guess some of it was string joy. Well, a lot of it is the company. I love the company. The company's great to deal with. The people there are great, but I also like the products. I like their process. And if I'm not mistaken, like when I first started up, which I'm almost 6 years now in business, when I first started up, I think they were the um, first product that I became a dealer for. So, but I also like to, so we can in the guitar world, we can say something is better. But I always like to, and we do a lot of things by feel, I think. So a lot of things are by feel. A lot of things are, we think it sounds better, we think whatever. So I'm always trying to like prove things. And maybe some of that is because of my background, because I always say that I was a firefighter, and I am. So firefighter and paramedic, but I was really a fire investigator. So, and in that world, you have to kind of like you can't just go in and wing it and say what caused a fire. You have to like prove it. So I think with guitars, like that's my mindset is always trying to like, all right, when somebody says something's better, I'm always trying to prove it. Like there has to be some way to quantify it and say string joy. Let's use them. Let's do string joy against Ernie Ball. Both good strings, but different. So if you go on longevity, first thing I did when I became a string joy dealer, and this isn't a string joy commercial. We get nothing for this from string joy. This is just me talking because we asked a question. Uh, but we will take something. We're not above it. Um, so string joy, Ernie Ball. The first thing I did when I became a dealer is we've had Rick on. You can look at Rick Lawhorn. He was on, a show, 6 months ago, something like that. The history of rock and metal. So Rick plays a lot. He teaches. He has a full teaching schedule all day, every day, and then he gigs like crazy all weekend. So he's probably one of the busiest guitar players I've ever seen. So when this was before String Joy came out with coated strings. When I first became a dealer, I gave Rick a set of strings. I said, keep these, let me know how long they last. And I forget how long it was, but it was a pretty long time in, just pounding the strings. So that was the first thing that I noticed is longevity, and especially with their coated. So then we can go into coated strings. So their coated is different from the Elixir's coated. I hope I'm not talking out of school here, but these are things that we've learned by having String Joy on the channel and me by talking to them as a dealer. So the coated strings from String Joy versus the Paradigms and from Ernie Ball and Elixirs and all those. Um, no, Alex is the Dario. Um, so
Actually,
no,
there you go. Right
yeah,
here.
there you go. That's exactly what he uses right there.
What I use.
And they're not bad strings, but I mean, it all depends on like what you're looking for. So, and anybody, I know Eric's here, so he's like, oh my God, I think I heard these when I was this whole spiel when I was getting strings for my guitar. But so the one difference is that they, when regular or with the other companies do their coating, they take the core, they wrap the core on your wound strings, and then they dunk it through that Gore-Tex type material to put the coating on it. Where String Joy, takes the two components, coats them, and then wraps the core. So that's why you don't feel that. The guitar guys describe it as that sliminess. And it's funny because they always describe it as sliminess. It's just they're the technical term. They're too slidey for me, so that's what I noticed. But a lot of that is because you can't feel probably the windings, I would assume. But the other things that I noticed is RPS nines, yeah. So the other thing that I noticed is when I string a guitar, and again, this is just me in my mind trying to quantify something like how is it different? How is it better? How is it worse? So and we also talked to Blake when he was Blake Weiland was on here. So when we talked to him, he kind of verified this because I said I notice when I string a guitar, I stretch it in and then I kind of like put it in playing position, do some bends, and then I tune it up, and it's kind of there. I'm not always doing this stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. So, nothing to see here. Jeez. Okay. So, what I notice is with those strings, it's like stretch them in, like bend them in, stretch them in, and then they're kind of there. Then maybe I usually let everything set overnight. I try not to do same day setups, and then I'll stretch them in, and then they're just kind of there. Where with other makers, I'll just leave it at that. It's like stretch them in, bend them in, stretch them in, bend them in, stretch them in, right? Tune it up, stretch them, stretch them, stretch them, stretch them. It's like over and over and over. And I asked Blake about that, and he told me that had to do with, again, trying to quantify, like, okay, Blake, is this something that I'm just in my head thinking is different, or is it something that's actually different? And he goes, no, probably what you're seeing is when we wind the core of the string, we're doing that under tension, where the other string manufacturers allegedly don't do it under tension. Now, I don't I don't know how true that is, just repeating what we're told. So yeah, so I think like for me, Ernie Balls, like I was gonna stick with String Joy. D'Addario, this was way back at the beginning. I think they're more in line with dealing with stores rather than like luthiers or technicians. So they didn't want to come on as a dealer for me, but I'll tell you this, I have right over here, there's probably Alex, you know this, there's probably like a 25-pound box of
Oh yeah,
string
yeah,
that I send back to them. I love their recycling program because I
yeah.
can send everybody else's strings back to them, and then they'll send me strings back. And I always wait for them to call me and go like, "Where the hell do you get all these strings?" And I can say, "They could be at D'Addario's, but you turn me down." But they never do. So anyways, I was carrying String Joys early in the beginning, and literally everybody, my age group, they like the pink Ernie Ball Super Slinkies, which I think Ernie Ball Super Slinky, just that word is the best marketing I've ever like on anything ever because I remember when I was younger, you see the word slinky and you automatically think it's gonna be easier to push down, it's gonna be easier to bend.
Mhm.
It's like the best marketing ever. So everybody was asking for those. So I'm like, really for me, it's kind of convenience for the customer also. So it's like, all right, well, I really and I like Ernie Ball. I like Ernie Ball, the company also. They're great. My salesman is great to deal with, great guy. And I carry a lot of their products. But also for me, being a dealer for them is saving everybody a trip, to the Guitar Center or Guitar Store or whatever on the way here. Because a lot of people, let's face it, a lot of people use Ernie Ball strings. So yeah, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of strings, at least from my perspective. Now, from yours, I mean, you have an allegiance to, D'Addario, right?
Yeah, I used Ernie Ball in the '80s actually, and I did use the Super Slinkies. Um, but yeah, as time goes on, you get into thicker gauge strings, and tune down the C. A Super Slinky's not going to work too well, you know.
Right.
And but yeah, I mean, it's been so long since it's been over 30 something years since I used Ernie Ball, so I don't have much to say about them. The Dario I've been using probably about 30, maybe 35 years, 36 years, something like
Mhm.
that. There was a brief time that I switched to DeMarkley actually for a very brief period. I was using blue steels, and I thought they sounded really good, but those strings just died really quickly. Um, and yeah, but I don't know. I have zero complaints with the Darios, So
Yeah.
it's my comfort zone. It's what I like. String joy, I don't have enough. Um, I don't. I had one pair that you gave me, and they were the uncoated. But I am curious
Right.
about the coated strings because
Yeah.
I prefer the coated
Right.
strings. But I don't have much to say about string joy because I don't have enough experience with the strings.
Yeah.
But I've been using the Daria forever. I tried Labella a few times because Bob and Ross are endorsed with Labella. They've been using Labella for about 30, like yeah, since 1991, I think. And
Mhm.
you know, good strings as well. But I don't know. It's like kind of
Yeah.
the Dario is kind of home for me. It's what I'm
Yeah.
used to. So
Well, and strings are personal, I've found through the years, and I have when a customer comes in, we know they're usually gonna fall in, one of 3 categories. They will either have their strings with them, and I've been using these since I was a kid, which is perfectly cool. Or I've always played Ernie balls. That's the second category.
Mhm.
Pink Super Slinkies.
I
And I
have it
have a ton of them over
right
there.
here.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
actually a gift from Roger
Yeah.
2
Yep.
years ago, something like that.
The headsets, yep. Or Papa hats or
Yeah,
so,
Papa Hats.
yeah, so that's the other one, or
Gotta
they
have it.
know
It's
what's
James
that?
Hetfield. It's James Hetfield. You gotta
Yeah,
have it,
and I have my candle, it's just sitting right there.
Right.
Um, and, the third is, like, they know I'm a string joy dealer, and they're like, "I've always wanted to try string joy," so they try them. And a lot of times they stick with string joy because, again, they're just good. Some people order their own because they get custom sets, and string joy is big on like thick strings. They've really gotten into marketing more towards metal and death metal with the drop tuners and the thicker.
Yeah, I've seen that actually just being on the
Yeah,
road. A lot of guys using them now,
yeah.
exchangeables. So,
Now,
yeah.
so bass strings, I'm not as well versed in bass strings, and I just had a couple customers kind of figure that out because they asked for recommendations. I'm just not as well versed in those. But I stumbled on, so I've learned in the past with a slime green Ibanez that I have that I thought would be cool to have slime green strings on it. So I put them on it, and I found out they were just dog crap. They sounded like crap. They were DRs, I think, the color ones you can get, and I had green flecks all over the face, like they flake like crazy. So I went in after I got my Warwick bass. I was like, I want to put a decent set of strings on it. Went in and asked the kid working at Guitar Center. I said, here's a thing. He recommended Black Widows, I think from DR. And I was like, God, these aren't those coated strings that are gonna flake all over. He goes, No, no, they're coated, but it's a different coating, and they're black. So when I took them out of the package while I was doing setup on the bass, I was like, oh my God, they're black. This is gonna be a mess. But they're not. They're actually really good. And a couple of people that have come by have looked at them and then played it. And I'm thinking about actually putting them on that black and white EVH and see what their guitar strings are like.
Ah, nice.
Um, but with bass strings, I like those a lot. Even though they're colored, they don't flake off, and whatever the coating is feels good, and they play well, which is funny. So it kind of brings me to a little goofy story on bass strings. So when we first opened up, again, a lot of what we were carrying, I mean, you're not gonna get rich carrying strings, trust me. But it's all about convenience for the customer. And, if I can save them a trip on the way here, not that I'm trying to rip somebody else's business off, but trying to save somebody a trip of driving all the way there. We have a lot of traffic here. We're in kind of the DC metro area, the southern end of it, but 95 runs through our jurisdiction, and you have to plan accordingly when you drive anywhere here. So if we can save anybody from that mess, we will do it. So we're going to carry strings, and then we're like, well, let's carry some bass strings. So we started. I was a dealer for String Joy, and so we got a couple of those, got a couple other ones, and we noticed the bass players would come in, and it's funny because as you know, my wife does all my paperwork and helps me with the ordering and all that. And it was so cute because she comes in and she goes, I don't know what it is with the bass guys, but they never change their strings. They always wanna save the strings, or they are, like, really like, bass guys are really hooked into their strings, and, so then we started carrying them when we bought them. We were like, "Oh, shit. That's why. Bass strings are really expensive." So, yeah, you
That's
might
right.
wanna save those.
Mhm.
Let's see. Started with boomers, 12s in the early '80s. A lot of it like, boomer people, and switch track back and forth from Slinky to D'Addario. Eventually was I kept breaking D's. Once I went to PR Slinky, I never looked back. Yeah. Yeah, and, like, strings are a personal thing, man, and when people ask me what I think, I'll tell them what I think, but that's just my opinion. Like, I literally I never want anybody to think, like, Roger's pushing one brand over another. I can tell you this, if I and you know this about me, and we've said it on the show, like, if I carry something here or if I talk about it, it's because I like it and I like the company. Because and you're the same way. W The shit we don't talk about, it's because we don't like it.
Yeah.
And if we do talk about it, we're gonna talk smack on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't talk about things we don't like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so look at that, man. I was able to free flow that off the top of my head because I told you I only had well, so let's stay on the gear. So we found out because I had a customer come in, looking for Fishmans, and he's looking for a particular sound, and he has the headsets and a couple of his other guitars. Um, he has the guitars that you like, the James Hetfield guitars, the snake bites. You know, the purple
I don't have
snake
much
bite.
experience with snake bites, to be honest
No,
with you.
you've seen it, the one that's in here, the one that comes in here, the purple one and the white
Oh,
one.
yeah, that's a snake bite,
It
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, he has those, it's that guy. So, Tim, if you ever watch, how you doing? So, he was looking for something similar but different. So, I recommended Will Adler's, which you play, and some of your guitars, and we both like Will Adler's. Um, but so I had him going. Yeah, there you go. There's one.
He's one of them. These are Will
Yeah.
Atlas. And, yeah, I love these pickups. Yeah,
Yep.
love them.
So we first noticed something was strange when we couldn't get black. So gold came in instead of black. So we noticed something was strange. So then, I tell this guy, and I'm big on having people like really go home and listen for yourself. Like what sounds good to me isn't gonna always sound good to somebody else. Here's a couple suggestions. Go listen to these. And he did, and he liked the Will Adlers, but he liked them in black. And he goes, "Hey, I think they're discontinued, basically." I was like, "No way." So I went on the site and looked. I don't know how the hell I didn't know this. And sure enough, they're discontinued. You can't buy them from Fishman anymore. So I reached out to my salesperson yesterday, and then of course I looked it up today to see where he went. I figured it had something to do with them being signatures and endorsements and things like that. So he has moved on to EMG, which is cool. But we'll talk more about that in a minute because it's weird, but cool. Like go where you want to go, wherever your home is, find it. So they no longer make those, and I asked her, I was like, "Hey, do you have any black sets hanging out?" And she was like, "We have nothing. The only thing that is left for Will Adler pickups is out in dealers. If anybody needs one, I have two. So if anybody needs Will Adlers, I'm one of the dealers that has some." So, and she said that, and you can speak more on this. So she said the Mick Thompsons are kind of the closest to replace them.
Yeah, hmm, I think they sound very different. The only thing that the similarity, they both sound like a passive pickup. It's a very open sounding pickup.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I think the Will Adler's got I don't know. It's hard to explain, they are different, but I think the similarity is they do sound like a very hot rodded passive pickup,
Mhm.
where the Fishman Modern has that super kind of high gain like an EMG,
Right.
but more versatile than an EMG, obviously. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's just my opinion. I mean, I only have one guitar with the Mick Thompsons in it, so which has
Yeah.
actually been my main touring guitar for the past 2 tours, I think, something like that. Yeah, or two
Yeah.
or three tours that we've done this year. So, but
Well,
yeah,
we
they're
did
great.
like a straight up swap. So yours are kind of wired. This is the one thing that she told me is, there one of the differences between the Mick Thompsons and the Adlers is Adler has two voicings where the Mick Thompsons have three. We
Right.
didn't do yours that way. Yours
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like whatever the voicings are is what they have,
Yeah.
because you didn't really need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It
I
has,
mean,
I
maybe
think the third voicing would be the single coil, I believe. Right.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I that's something we found out. Now, the thing that I found out literally a couple hours ago as I started looking for it. So I guess, I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, but I don't think so. I I guess like he jumped over to EMG because he always played at 81 and at 85. So his signature set is going to be at 81 and 85, but gold.
I don't know. It's got to be something. There's got to be something different to it. I can't see why you put his name on just an 81, 85.
Well,
That's
wait a
weird.
minute.
Yeah. That's just strange. That makes zero sense.
Well,
You
that
know?
I said that at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So, Adler and his tech indicated using classic hot output setup, specifically leaning on the tried and true EMG 81 and 85 combination, frequently styled in brushed gold to match his signature ESP LTD aesthetic.
Okay. All right.
That was right out of the
Well, I
article.
mean, you like what you like. I mean,
Yep,
I have friends that still swear by EMG and they love them, and that's great.
yep.
But I prefer the Fishmans over the EMGs. I
Well,
still like the
and
5766 set though. I still that EMG sets very similar, I guess, to the Het set, you know.
yeah, right. Well, and I told you, I did that. I forget what guitar it was, but he's a Nashville session guy, and we put a 85 and two singles in it, and he got. I mean, talking about like looking at something and then hearing something, it's like two different worlds that shouldn't collide. So when you think of the 81 and 85 being like super aggressive metal pickups, and he set out here hooked into my stealth, my EVH stealth,
Mhm.
and threw the green channel on clean through the 85 and finger styled somewhere over the rainbow, and it sounded like magic coming out of the guitar and the amp.
Yeah, that green channel in the Stealth, I think it's just one of the best sounding channels because you can get a lot of gain out of there, but you could really, get super beautiful clean tones, dirty, kind of bluesy tones out of it. It's such a, compared to the EVH 3
Right.
amps, it's like it's a really great versatile channel, actually. I
Yeah.
mean, the Stealth in general is just an amazing amp, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, hopefully they will, hopefully they'll I had to I looked down, I just got a message. I love it when you get a text message and it says, "Stafford taxpayer alert." That
Awesome.
can't be good.
Oh, fantastic.
Alert, your
Yeah.
taxes are going up again. Oh my god. Yeah, so anyways, this, we wanted to talk about, we set out to talk about the EMGs and the Fishmans and Will Adlers. The rest of it, like, we weren't trying to turn it into a string joy commercial or string commercial, but, I mean, that's all good stuff. Like, that's kind of my thought process on strings. And again, like, I like Ernie Ball, my rep with Ernie Ball, he communicates really, really well. Um, the guys at String Joy have just always taken care of me. They're in Nashville. So both good companies, and I like dealing with good companies. So I'll leave it at that. I think we've belabored that point. So on, are you ready for touring? Like we're gonna talk about touring. I'm like, I never toured shit in my life, man. I've toured firehouses. Like, what am I gonna talk about? It's like,
You've
well,
toured
let me
around
tell you,
Virginia. You've toured
young
Virginia, been
man,
around.
let me tell you what I did. So here we go. Let's get started with this. And anybody, we have 5 in here watching now live. So if anybody has any touring or music industries, we're going to go about 25 minutes on this. We're going to try to stick to an hour. So what is the biggest misconceptions fans have about a 6-week tour or a tour?
Well, it's definitely not glamorous whatsoever. Probably people think it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of trying to catch up on sleep. You know, a lot of just get to the gig. You got load in. You got to do sound check. You got to eat, play the gig, take a shower, jump back on the bus, move on to the next place. It's not a lot of fun and games like a lot of people think too. It's a lot of work. I should say there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
In particularly, especially the road crew. I mean, those guys are the real superstars of the tour. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people think. I think people think like there's like parties going on all the time, and that can happen and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
at least in my band, there's not a lot of that going on. We're pretty boring.
You mentioned trying to squeeze in a shower. So that's
Yes.
kind of a logistical nightmare to get everybody through a shower at a venue, right?
Well, yeah, like if you think that there's 50 guys, say there's 50 of you on a tour. So you got to be courteous and get in and get out of there depending on how many showers there is. Even if there could be 1 or 2 showers too, and so you got to think about that, so everybody's on a schedule to get in and get out and do what you have to do what you have to do, and be courteous of everybody else,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's you're on a schedule every day, and you got to stick to that schedule every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely not big party like everybody thinks.
I
So
don't think I mean, you and I had talked about it, but when we went up to the Fillmore and saw Blood Incantation, and then they came off stage, they greeted for a couple minutes, and then they hustled, like they disappeared and hustled. We went downstairs and they're all like one by one coming out of the shower to eat something real fast so they could get out of there.
mhm.
Oh,
Yep.
and at that point I was like, whoa, this is nothing like what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I mean it's work, it's work, and yeah, it's a lot of work. And
So
like I said, especially for the crew.
what percentage of the day is actually playing music?
1 hour.
Out of 24, 1 hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like all that to get for that 1 hour on stage, if that, unless you're headliner and you're playing 90 minutes or something like that. But yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. But there's a lot of preparation for that, that goes, into that.
Right.
And then you could have, you're doing festivals. You may have like a signing session or something like that. So you have, okay, we got here, we got to eat, we got to load in, we got a sound check, we got a meet and greet or whatever, and then we got to rush and get ready to go on stage, and then I get a shower, run back to the bus, and you got bus call, and you got to move on to the next town. So and a lot of people think, oh, you see the world, but unless you have like 2 days off where you're just like hanging out somewhere, you really don't get to see anything.
Yeah, you see it as you're passing through it.
Yeah.
She said, unless you do a guest spot with another band. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions along these lines, shoot them in because these are my questions. And, keep in mind, I'm trying to figure out what I think people will be interested in because I probably already asked you these questions, so I'm trying to go, all right, what would people think? All right,
Yeah.
so what part of touring has become harder over the last decade?
I would just say, well, I think with age, it gets tougher on the body, like when you're younger, you could withstand not sleeping and things like that and all the traveling, but just the traveling and juggling when you're in and out of airports, on airplanes, different time zones. Yeah, it really beats you up, just traveling in general. It's very tough on the body, and especially when you've been doing it for decades, you know. And the young guys, they can kind of like be up and ready to go, when you're in your 20s, but once you get into your 50s, it's
Yeah,
definitely, you feel it more, but when you get on stage, regardless of how shitty you feel sometimes, the adrenaline kind of kicks in, and you kind of forget about the pain or not sleeping or
mhm,
whatever it is, so yeah, that brief moment on stage kind of makes up for it, but
right.
I'll be honest, I hate traveling. I hate it. I used to love it, but I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it like I used to. I still enjoy that time on stage. I like meeting fans. I like meeting friends, especially when you do like the festivals like we were at, like a lot of the bands that we're friends with. You don't get to see each other all the time, so it's always like a nice time to meet your friends that from the other bands or crew, different crew members and stuff
Mhm,
like that, that you don't get to see a lot. So that I really enjoy. But yeah, the you know traveling is a bitch.
yeah.
you know.
All right, cheat. Oh no, Christoph. Do increase fixed expenses. Yeah, I had one. Transport visas make it realistic to tour if you don't sell significant amount of merch.
Well, yeah, I mean, gas prices, running bus, your crew. So you figure your crew, you got to pay these people, So depending on how many people you have, and that's a lot of money right there.
Right.
Um, but it depends on your guarantee, what you're making every night. Um, Obviously, yeah, merch is a big thing. Do we completely rely on merch these days? Not like we used to. Things are a little bit better, but but especially if you're a younger band and all, it's just like, you're not getting a high fee, and you really rely on merch, like I actually
Mhm.
had a friend call me yesterday asking me questions about that, about going on tour and, you know, what to do in order to make ends meet, Um, but yeah, I mean, merch is a gamble because you don't know what you're going to sell. Thankfully, over the years, we've done better and better and better with merch. But yeah, that merch is a big thing because obviously, selling records is a thing of the past. You don't sell the copies you used to because of the internet. Um, so visas, yeah, depending on where. I know for a lot of bands, especially coming to the US over the last probably over 10 years or more, 15 years, it's gotten tougher and tougher for other bands to come to the States because of how much it costs for a visa to come here. So that's been going maybe like 2 decades now. It's gotten harder and harder for a lot of bands. But yeah, that is another thing. Visas, depending on where you're going, and make sure that's all online to get your visa in time and all. But you got to be ahead of the game with that. You can't slack on those things. Because you don't want to
Right.
come into a situation where it's like, oh, I got a couple months and I didn't, take care of my visa or whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, it can be. I think if anything, it could be tougher for younger bands these days because if you've been around for a long time, you already have a fan base.
Mhm.
And for newer bands, it becomes even tougher for them to be able, to survive as a band because it takes money to keep you going. It's like, and I don't want to get into how much it costs to go on tour, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that, to buy merch, for the bus drivers, for your crew, gas, all those things, it's very expensive, you know. So
Yeah.
especially like when you tour the States, because the States is bigger, so the distances are longer in between. So touring Europe, everything's pretty close. So it's a little bit easier in that aspect. But Europe has always been more expensive with gas than the States touring.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
but yeah, there's pros and cons, you know, whatever part of the world you're touring.
Yeah. All right. I have another question, but first, hey Eric, how's your strat doing? Throw it in the comments. Um, how much planning goes into a successful tour before the first show?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially in my band where Baba Ross pretty much managed the band. So for those two in general, they have to deal with a lot of stuff, a lot of logistics and things like that, to make sure everything's done properly, before we leave. So, and over the years you learn, to make sure you take care of every little thing before you go on that tour. But yeah, there's a lot of planning, that goes into going out on the road.
So who's persons, whatever company that's dealing with booking flights if it's out of the country, setting up a tour bus, setting up the route, getting a driver, so on and so forth, all the logistical things. Is that
Well,
them or is it the
no,
booking
well,
agent?
our booking agency, we have two different booking agencies, one in Europe and one in the States that pretty much does the rest of the world. Our agency in the States. Um, so they deal with all that. Usually we have to deal with flights and taking care of the bus and all. But then there may be situations where we don't have to deal with that. But
Right,
most of the time the band is dealing with taking care of the bus and all. The days of tour support from your record label, that's been over a long time. Where they used to take care of that stuff. So those days been over for a very long time now. So labels don't have the power they used to because they don't sell the units they used to.
right.
So
I guess
as I
because
explained many
everything's
times in my
streaming.
interviews, where it used to be in the early days where you're doing a tour to promote the record, you know, that you recently released, but now it's kind of like the record is the promotional tool for the next tour you do. It's kind of in the reverse, if that makes any sense to anybody.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Sounds like it's changed a
I
lot.
mean, music industry is
No.
is a very tough business. Like if you're going to get into this thing, you really better love it because it is a very hard business. There's no guarantees in anything.
Yeah.
And it's very rare. It's for anybody to get to like you talk about a Metallica or something like that. It's like that's a very rare thing. I don't even know if I'm going to see bands that big anymore. Well, we shall see. But it remains to be seen. But yeah, it's a very difficult thing. So it's a lot of work, but you really better love it. And before you get into this, don't have any dreams of like I got a record deal and I've made it. It's like well, once you get that, that's when the real work starts.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's a tough seems like a tough run. Mainly younger bands told me that they're basically bankrupt when leaving for tour.
Sure.
Man,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're a lot of these bands, these younger bands, they're lucky if they break even. You know, I
yeah,
mean, they're out there working though too. They're out there working to promote their band, and even for our band, it's taken a lot of years to even get to the point that we're at. A long, long time of struggling.
right.
So it's not easy.
Yeah. So has streaming ultimately helped metal bands or hurt them?
Say that again. What?
Has streaming helped metal bands or hurt them? Well,
Um,
really all bands, I guess.
I mean, financially, yeah, it definitely has not helped whatsoever. Because obviously, like I said about selling records, a lot of people gave Lars Ulrich all kinds of shit years ago, but he was absolutely spot on
Yeah,
about the whole thing with streaming. Um, but I would say the pros to streaming is, nowadays, you know, back when I was a kid in the 1970s and 1980s, like you heard a lot of stuff through the radio until I discovered the underground movement that was happening in the 80s. But you were kind of force fed what you heard. And you had to do a lot of work to find your music. Nowadays, everything is at your fingertips. You just go on the computer on the YouTube, and I think that's helped a lot of the older bands a lot too, because a lot of these kids, they discover all these old bands and stuff, and so music is it's an instant thing that's out there that you could get at any time. It's not like, when I was a kid, especially getting into like underground metal and hardcore and all that kind of stuff, you know, I had to like order records and things like that from the record store, in the early mid 80s and things like that. So, but yeah, I think the internet has really helped a lot as far as exposing your your music, because like
right.
I said, everything is there. Like even when I find stuff sometimes, because I love to check out YouTube, and I'll find like old concerts and demos and stuff that I used to have, and because I was really into bootlegs and stuff like that, so I had like tons of like live shows of whoever, and tape trading and all that. So it's cool. Like I'll find stuff I haven't heard in a long time on there because it's on there. Um, even Spotify, as much as Spotify kind of basically rips us all off, but I still listen to it because,
Yeah,
I'm not all the time, have I love vinyl, but, I'm not, it's just not accessible all the time to go downstairs and put your vinyls on. So I can just go on Spotify and find everything on there. And plus on Spotify, when a record is released, it's on there at midnight of that day,
mm,
whatever the date is. So it's immediately on there. That's a controversial subject for some musicians. I know, like a friend of mine I was talking to the other day, he was like, "Oh, fuck Spotify, and those motherfuckers," and excuse my language. I think I can curse on here.
seems like it.
But yeah, it's
We're all adults.
yeah. I don't know if I'm making any sense to anybody, but
Well, no, it
you
sounds
know,
to me like that it so 2 things can be true in this instance with Spotify. So it can be helpful and it can hurt.
hey,
The dog's checking things
got a
out.
guest.
She just man, she's lost her hearing and she just has to walk around and see where things are now.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like it can help you get things up and running. Come here, come here, come here. Here we go. Look, there we go. We'll get a she can't hear you. She's deaf. Poor girl. So, it seems like it can, help you get started if you're trying to get your band off the ground and get your music out there. But once you get
Yeah.
established, definitely probably works against you because you're losing out on a lot of money you otherwise would have gotten earlier, right?
Yeah, but even in those days too, they still screwed the record labels would screw you big time too, and
No, well, that's
especially if
true.
because when you go into the music business, we're artists, so you don't think of the business aspect of everything because it is a business, and because we're artistic people, we're not accountants or anything like that, so
Mhm.
um, nowadays you really have to be both, you know going into it. Because so back in the
Yeah.
early days, you sign a record deal, and they basically own everything. Own your record, own your merch. Just like management. like management can take 15% across everything. That's another reason why we don't, the band is manages itself, because that's another mouth to feed,
Mhm.
um, and management can be taking 15% of your merch, 15% of your royalties, 15% of your pay, during a tour. That's a lot of money, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean, to bring up Metallica, and unless you're a band like that, like Metallica is an institution, like, they're it still amazes me about them, just, but I think Metallica is one of those bands that made the right decisions early on. I mean, there's no doubt how amazing the band was, and groundbreaking they were, but they also they got locked in with the right people. And that's another big part of the thing, is getting locked in with the right people. And I have to say that our band now, everybody that we work with are good people, and had the best intentions for the band. We're very fortunate with that, but there's been a lot of mistakes along the way, to get to that point.
Yeah. Oh, Christoph knows something. Venue's taking a percentage on merch sales is
Yes,
basically
yes, yeah, yeah. It depends. Like festivals, some like it's kind of pointless to even sometimes sell merch at some of these places, because how much, the percentage they take and the taxes and things like that. So yeah, yeah, that's a whole other story, and that kind of started in the US. That was something that started here through the hardcore scene, actually.
huh.
They caught on to that shit with a lot of the hardcore bands back in the 80s and all. And venues started doing that, started taking a cut. It's not like they're not making enough money already, of alcohol and things like that. Then they want to take more
Right.
from,
They want
but
it all. They want
yeah, that's a whole other thing too. Yeah.
All right.
So,
I have more questions, but I'm gonna ask one more because 'cause we're bumping on an hour. We said we wanted to hold it at an
we
hour.
could have a part
Eh
two,
Yeah, we could have a part 2, and here's another thing I was thinking, like, if people come up with questions during the week in between shows, just email them in. I think it's the guitargearlocker@gmail.com. If you email the questions in, or any ideas you have for shows, people you may wanna see on the show or whatever, email it into that. I check it. I don't check it as regularly as I probably should, but I do. Every day, maybe every 2 days, but I will get back to you. So here's my last burning question. I have a ton more, but next time. Um, how has social media affected touring and the music business?
I think social media has helped a lot, actually. I think it's an important tool. I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not an expert of social media, and I think a lot of the young people are more engaged in that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's a very important tool to have, because it's instant information,
yeah,
so promoting your tour, like, hey, we're here today, or a tour's coming up in a couple months, and constantly pumping that out. um and because people miss things too, so
right.
constantly pumping out the information through social media definitely helps, I think.
Yeah,
And I think it's a essential tool that you need nowadays,
yeah,
to survive as a band,
yeah,
a lot of ways, because I'm old, I like, I still, there's something about the mystery of the early days, that especially like when you were, like when I used to tape trade in the 80s, and you didn't know what you were getting when you ordered things like a demo, or fanzine or whatever, and there was like excitement about that. You got that, now it's just like you push a
right,
button, you can hear something immediately,
right,
um, and you didn't know a lot about the bands, like there was this mystery, like when I first saw Merciful Fate, Melissa, and Slayer, Show No Mercy. It was just like, oh my gosh, these guys are evil or whatever. It was this mystique about everything. So that's a
right.
whole other story, but that's
And now you
changed.
see them all on Facebook with their kids and grandkids.
Exactly. Yeah, like me.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, you see it, it's like what real life is, but, and I told you, I think you do so I do okay at Facebook. I'm getting better at TikTok, which you saw, but
I don't know
Instagram,
about TikTok, or
you do really
TikTok.
well on Instagram, and we may have to experiment with TikTok with this because 'cause I'd like to simulcast,
Sure. Yeah,
because
why
that's
not?
a whole untapped audience in there, but I
Immolation
think
has a TikTok now, by the way,
it
so everybody knows
Immolation does
we
have a
do have a
TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah,
So
but we need to do some a TikTok where we do different videos on like that. This is a bigger platform. This is more of a production. Like you have to have a platform to get it out to YouTube and all that, with cameras and lights and all this kind of shit. Where
mhm.
like people don't know this, so I've been trying to get more into TikTok, and we were actually on a TikTok live, kind of behind the scenes with you and I just kind of bullshit before this on my private TikTok, which is for the birds if you want to follow it. I'm trying to get more involved in that, but we probably should get one. Unfortunately, we can't simulcast to the two, but we could definitely broadcast the two of us out. But yeah, that's a whole different untapped audience. But
Yeah.
Instagram, I think you all as a band and you as a musician, you all do very good on. I know Bob's trying to get the TikTok up, and he's doing a good job at that. Kids just, I mean, second nature to them. But you all do very well on Instagram, which I absolutely just don't get. And if you look at the Gear Locker Instagram page, you can tell that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I had
Oh,
no
well,
I just literally put the thumbnail up, and I'm like, "I don't get it."
I still I have no idea what I'm doing. It's funny because I just finished reading the Gary Holt book, and Gary's wife is the one that's like he's got a huge following on Instagram. He's probably got like a 500,000 followers or something like that, and he doesn't know that's all his wife is like, do this, do that, and
Yeah.
maybe I need my wife to get more involved with my music career.
Yeah, yeah, right,
you
right.
know, but y- certain people just kind of have an insight to those things where I to be honest with you, I'm completely clueless about social
Well,
media.
and
I'll
it's
just put up
really,
things.
I mean, if you think back to, we had Pete Dankelson on, Pete is doing great.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
living, like, he's a great player too, but
yeah.
he's
He
now
is. Yes, he
he's
is. Great guy
relocated from
too.
Chicago to Nashville, and he has a big social media presence, big
Hmm.
TikTok presence. And I think that's helped him out on his pursuit of being a rock star, and we're probably gonna see him in big venues in the future,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
Great
helped him
player
along.
and great guy. Great
Yeah,
person.
really, really
No
good
doubt.
guy, really
Yeah.
good guy.
Hmm.
So, all right, well, I think that brings us, don't forget to like and subscribe wherever it is on your screen. And we will be back, no doubt, next Tuesday, at noon. And we
Yeah.
will have more. And we do have a product. It may be next week, it may be the week after. We're gonna get that lined up. We have a
Hmm.
product that we want to talk about, and maybe have a guest associated with that. So, all right, everybody, have a good
All
week.
right,
Go back
guys.
to work if you're in the US
Yep.
on our time zone. Get back to work.
Like and subscribe, please.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah, you too,
share, like,
Christoph.
and subscribe.
Eric, thanks for finally catching us, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Have a good night.